Movies. You either love them or hate them. I myself seem to love most movies, even when they are crap. I was recently given an example of a reviewer saying she would never give a movie 0 stars. Well, it was Pumpkins at the time, as there was work that went into them. Even the worst movies have had hours of work put into them. I now happen to agree with that statement, so it's with great pleasure I reignite the flame of the show I like to call In Defense Of. We have already done Man of Steel, which, to be fair, is just a good film and doesn't really fall under this category. But we also did the Canto Bite scene from Star Wars The Last Jedi. I know, scary. We look at films that have a negative review, and even a cultural hatred towards them. I am not looking forward to this. I may go a little mad, but I will defend these movies by looking at what it was trying to do, and most of all, if they are fun. Tonight, we look at a film that is hated by most, and yet attempted to take a thin story and turn it into a feature-length live-action film. There's only so much you can do with, our princess is in another castle. Tonight, we're defending Super Mario Bros. From 1993.
Super Mario Brothers. This ain't no game.
The 1993 film was an adaptation of the side-scrolling video game Super Mario Bros. It cast British actor Bob Hoskins as Super Mario and John Leguizamo as Luigi. They are two New York plumbers who are needed to help stop the flooding of an archaeological excavation. Yes, it's always archaeologists. The excavation is for a meteorite that made the dinosaurs extinct. And we come to the first contentious point of the movie. The introduction of some extremely bad, and seriously, there is no defending these, computer-generated dinosaurs. I suppose this is for the kids. A quick depiction of the extinction of the dinosaurs, which kids can enjoy and not realise that at any moment our world can be wiped out via a large falling rock. Oh, God damn it! If I didn't have enough to worry about. I'm not convinced either. Judging by the rest of the film, this seems out of place and a little redundant. But there are good parts, I do promise. We meet the plumbers as they announce that they are being put out of business by the mafia-led Scapelli Construction. Not really a thread that goes anywhere apart from them flooding the archaeological dig that kicks off the whole story. Also, Scapelli is devolved into a chimpanzee, or as Hopper says,
monkey!
Luigi meets Daisy and they go on a date. When they discover that Scapellis have started to flood the dig site, they get Mario to help stop the flooding. This is where the princess gets kidnapped. Iggy and Spike, who I suppose are the comic relief, knock the Mario brothers out and take Daisy through the portal. The brothers wake up moments later and follow Daisy's screams through the portal. As you can see, there's elements of the game are already here. Portals, kidnappings, plumbers. These are the basics of the Super Mario games. The story is simple. Save the princess. They don't actually know she's a princess yet. Neither does Daisy. But it's exactly the same story as the games. You have a story that shows the subjugation of the Mushroom Kingdom. The king has been turned into fungus, and there are an army of Goombas enforcing Koopa's laws. There's also a threat of devolution if you disobey. Life for the Mushroom Kingdom, in the games, seem to be fairly normal. There are Goombas everywhere, and yet, in the game, Mario literally stamps on their heads. He's a cold-blooded killer. Mario is portrayed by Bob Hoskins, and as such, is a fairly convincing Mario. He gives his best Brooklyn accent that seems to deviate into Eddie Valiant, but to be fair, it doesn't actually matter. He's a plumber who doesn't know what he's fallen into. If anyone was to play Mario in the 90s, it was a toss-up between Hoskins and Danny DeVito. Luigi Mario is Mario's younger brother. It looks like he's supposed to have been brought up by Mario. Played by John Leguizamo, he's not the first choice for Luigi, but he was able to play the role well, and with good comic timing. The moment they appear in their red and green overalls, it does become a Super Mario Bros. Film. Daisy is played by Samantha Mathis, and she's basically a damsel in distress. Yet she seems to be a fighter. Clearly, she's been based on Ripley, especially in that sequel stinger at the end. She fights, but is ultimately in another castle. Again, as with the rest of the cast, she plays the role well with what she has. The idea that after the meteorite struck, our world was split in two. One where the dinosaurs evolved into humanoid beings, and the other is our world. It's a clever idea that fleshes out the meagre story of the game. It also firmly sets this movie as being set in our own world, meaning it has to play by our rules. Meaning, people can't jump ridiculously high. The bad guy is King Koopa. The name Bowser isn't mentioned. And in casting Dennis Hopper, you have for a creepy villain. But he's played more for laughs than anything. And it's kind of understandable why. Hopper was openly critical of the film and its directors. There were two. He was angry on set for his time running over and for lines being changed without him being informed. Yes, he wasn't a large turtle creature, if that's what Bowser was. King Koopa, played by Dennis Hopper, is the dictator of the other world. He's evolved from the Tyrannosaurus Rex. He looks human and is more of a dictator than a king of the Koopas. And he looks like Donald Trump. No, I'm not saying Donald Trump is descended from small-brained, small-armed, carnivorous T-Rex, but he has the hallmarks of becoming a dictator. He has an army of Goombas who were devolved Mushroom Kingdom residents. Yes, they don't much look like their original game counterparts, but at the same time, they kind of do. If they were to make Goombas that were knee-high, what threat would they be? In the game, as soon as Mario touches them, he either dies, loses mushroom power. In a live-action film, this is supposed to have its basis in real life. That wouldn't happen. The Goombas actually looked quite good, and there is no mistaking what they are supposed to be. Then, we travel to the Mushroom Kingdom. Which production designer David Snyder said, "We designed the film with the idea of looking at New York while on mind-altering drugs." They changed it to make it look more like, and at the same time, less like our world. It's an interesting looking world, which has its basis in a cement company plant in North Carolina. Instead of using a soundstage where they would have to build different level sets, the building already had these levels, which they turned into the futuristic Mushroom Kingdom. And if you look at the set photos, you can tell that it's just one building, but it has a bigger feel to it. The style of the costumes look great, giving a sense of the Blade Runner lived-in feel. I already mentioned the final plumber overalls, and the colours do pop. They're not too cartoony, but they are colourful and give the film that final look it needs. They explain how the plumbers can jump so high by giving them booster boots, which isn't too far beyond the games if you think about it. Mario breaks open a box and finds things inside like coins, mushrooms, and flowers. In the live-action adaptation, they get booster shoes, sentient mushrooms, and bombs. The practical effects are also quite good, having Daisy meet Yoshi, a fully animatronic dinosaur. It's said that the effects designer Patrick Tatopoulos made the creatures cartoony due to another dinosaur movie in the works at the same time, which were going for a more realistic look. These other filmmakers were so impressed with Tatopoulos, he was almost hired as a second creature shop on Jurassic Park. The design of the film is both. It works for the film and is also a detriment to it. And it isn't the colourful look of the games. Well, especially not the Game Boy. It tried to give a sense of realness that I don't think works for Super Mario. A few years later in 1996, we got Super Mario 64, which looks far from the movie's aesthetic as can be. It's colourful and cartoony. It shows the Mushroom Kingdom as this magical land that doesn't look as though anything is wrong. Is there a legacy? I don't know, but in 1993 I was 8 and I have fond memories of this film. I even have it on video somewhere still. It was a film that was based on a video game with the smallest threads of a story. They had to make a narrative that adhered to the game and was an entertaining film in itself. It was a losing battle, and as the next 25 years have shown, no game adaptation has been universally praised. We're only just now getting films that are based on games that are being able to tread a line between games and films. The recent Tomb Raider, for example, had a nice blend of the game and film. It told a solid story, but added scenes which were just ripped from the game itself. We had the Assassin's Creed film, which, to be fair, I thought was fine, but many of the problems with that were those problems which actually came from the game. No one likes the future parts of the game, but unfortunately, Assassin's Creed is a game that is set in that future, and you can't have an Assassin's Creed film without it being there. Nintendo have been reticent to allow the products to be adapted into films since the failure of Super Mario Bros. But it looks like 25 years on, it's been long enough for the sour taste to disappear. As of 2018, there could be some movement on an animated Super Mario film produced by Sony Pictures. Ugh. As an animated film, they will be able to link it closer to the games. But I'll admit, I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel to the 1993 live-action film. Unfortunately, Bob Hoskins is no longer with us. There's also the Detective Pikachu movie that has just dropped a trailer. So Nintendo seem to be moving more into the live-action films. This film is fun. It's a good adaptation of the classic video game. Yes, it failed to make any money and no doubt pushed computer game adaptations back a few years. But I wouldn't say it's any worse than Mortal Kombat or, say, Alone in the Dark. It tried to take a flimsy story and give it a bit more background. It was imaginative and stylish. It brought Mario to life and gave a reason for why the games were like they were. Now, where's my Nintendo 64?
It's me, Mario! Hello! Okie dokie!
Oh my god, I'm so crap.
Yeah!
Thanks for watching. I'm the Ultimate Movie Geek. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram and WordPress at The Ultimate Movie Geek. I also have a podcast called the Man About a Dog Movie Podcast, or Mad Movie Pod. You can find that on SoundCloud and iTunes or whatever podcast aggregator you use. I also write for worldgeeklynews.com. We write articles daily. It's a good website. Go check it out. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel because there's going to be more videos like this coming very, very shortly. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll see you again. Heads. He's a cold-blooded killer.